Welcome to the Coleman Report, talking with Brett Caines, Lumos Data. Brett, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Bob. Thanks.
What does Lumos do?
So we are a data analytics provider. At our core, we have a historical data set of small business loan performance going back 30 years. And we've used that to build other products on top of that. So just for example, we inform predictive models using that data set. It's just one of the things we do. So the data is the core, and then we've built products sort of around that.
Very good. And be specific. What type of data reports are you producing?
So we look at loan performance. We have a big focus on credit risk. So we're looking at defaults, charge-offs, loss given default, and therefore we have a loss rate that goes along with those default rates. And we've used that not only to show or allow folks, lenders, to look historically at how SBA loans performed, historically by loan type, loan size, industry franchise, geography. You can even search and see how individual lenders have performed. But then we've also used that to actually build predictive credit risk models. So with that data set, I'm sorry?
I was going to say, it sounds like a lot of the data I did with SBA 7A. Oh, wait a minute. I'm partnering with you guys. You guys are doing that now.
That's right, just for that, yeah.
Yeah, so it is 7A, and in the past I had done default data, charge-off data, industry data, and pretty cool stuff. But I wanted to cut you off there. You've added to that, and you're now adding predictive scores and some other cool stuff. And by the way, you're now fulfilling the data PDF reports that I've done in the past, so that's awesome. Anyway, tell a little bit more that you've added to the reports.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the PDF reports that you used to do in partnership, with you, we've started on those PDF reports. Those reports, we now update those quarterly, and with a year purchase. You get continuous downloads of that report, and it's updated on a quarterly basis. We have defaults in there, annualized, charge-offs in there, just as you did. You can look at industries, franchises, and then in addition to those PDF reports with your subscription for 1 year, you also get access to our interactive dashboard. So you can go in and select a certain industry that you would like to look at, select a certain franchise you'd like to look at, and see what the loan performance has been over the years.
So I'm interested in Jimmy John's franchise. Tell me what type of data I can get from them.
Yeah, so you can go in and you can look at the historical performance of a Jimmy John's. Something that's we find really interesting is when you think of some industries that you just intuitively know have a great historical credit performance, like dental loans. Dental loan comes across a chief credit officer's desk. They're probably just going to approve it and keep rolling because they have such a low historical default rate. A limited service restaurant comes across the desk, and it's going to get a harder look. But if you dig into the data, you'll see that while limited service restaurants as a whole have a worse default rate than dental offices, a Jimmy John's specifically is almost exactly the same performance as a dentist office. So two very low risk profiles that you may not otherwise realize if you are just thinking limited service restaurant.
I'm very interested in what you call the predictive score. SBA also has that. I know they recently changed vendors or the way they're calculating that. We're all interested in that. Well, what happened in the past is important. If I'm an underwriter, I'm more concerned about, okay, what's happening in the future. Give me some of the inputs that you put for that data calculation.
Yeah, so we have a couple of different predictive credit models that we've built. And what we've done there is we've looked at this 30 years of loan performance data that we have, and we've overlaid that with different macroeconomic factors. So we pull in data sets from Bureau of Labor and Statistics, from the Federal Reserve Economic Database, from the U.S. Census Bureau. And over that same 30-year time period, we use machine learning models to identify correlations between loan performance by industry or loan performance by geography, et cetera, how those loans performed in a higher inflationary environment, or how they performed in various unemployment environments.
So I'm assuming my Jimmy John's, you're going to have different inputs if it's located in Southern California versus Austin versus Boston.
Right, and if you put those inputs into our model right now, it'll pull those macroeconomic types. So what's the current inflation rate? What's the current unemployment rate in Boston? And those more macroeconomic inputs will drive that predicted default and predicted loss that we return.
Very good. What else does the dashboard offer? What else can I get out of the dashboard?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different dashboard offerings. So beyond the partnership that we have with you for default, we still do the top lenders that you used to show as well. But some of our other dashboards, you can get into vintage curves, so you can look at how an industry has historically performed over time in each successive year after loan origination. And you'll see, some things we all have those rule of thumbs that we know, like the highest likelihood of default is in year 3 or year 4 of the loan. That's sort of a macro view. You can really drill down into items like that on a much more granular level. So if you wanted to look at just one particular industry, what year is the most risky for default? What year do prepayments spike? When did prepayments taper off as time goes on? So you can really use the dashboard test to drill further and further into more micro characteristics of a loan.
You snuck in the prepayments. Prepayments are defined by charge-offs, but also by loans that prepay early. I think the addition of that data is extremely important. It very much helps value what that SBA loan is worth, especially if you do not sell it to the secondary market. There is an imputed value of what that asset is worth to the bank. So this data is very good to support to the regulators and to your CPA on how you come up with the numbers. So I'm very impressed by what you do. I do want to, then you have one more thing, which I found fascinating in talking to your team, that they gave my favorite restaurant in Southern California. I gave them the name, and they spit out a whole report with a predictive score. So I'm going to take that into them and say, hey, this is what the computer. I say this lovingly, so don't be offended. The computer nerds, the geeks, came up with the score. Tell me more about that and how lenders can use that score.
Love it. Yeah, no offense taken whatsoever. So it's a great compliment. Yeah, so that's the Lumos business report. It does exactly what you just said. With 5 inputs, we can return a predicted default and loss rate. So kind of we return the actual default and loss rate. It's an average annual default rate, but we place a score on that as well. But not only do you get the score, you actually get what the default rate is, and so that gives you an early indication of what the risk on that loan could be, so inform pricing or inform kind of what the next steps you want to take. And then in addition to that, you get a write-up on the business. And
right. That was pretty cool. And I know, look, none of us are going to make a loan decision based on that report, but it's a starting point to say, hey, this is someone I want to continue to have a conversation with, and I'm going to do some due diligence in these other areas, especially for SBA. We need to have that type of that. Well, very good. I love what you're doing. So what do you charge these days, and how do lenders get a hold of the NICS franchise default data report, as well as for as of December 31st, 2023? Get my dates right.
Yeah. So for the analogous report that folks are used to seeing from Coleman, while we've partnered with you on, that subscription is $2,000 per user, or I'm sorry, $2,000 per year for one user. And with that, you get unlimited downloads of that PDF and also that single license access to the interactive dashboard where you can filter in various ways. If you want to add users for the interactive dashboard, that's an additional $500 per user. But for the PDFs, it's $2,000 a year. You can download the PDF as many times as you want to, share
Per
it,
institution.
within your bank as many times as you want to.
Good.
So what folks are used to, really.
Very good. Brett Caines, Lumos Data. Hey, thanks for joining us, Brett.